Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, now in our 6th season looking into the exciting happenings at Ipswich Town Football Club. My name is Mikey Pensy-Smith, and while Ipswich may be suffering from a bit of an injury crisis, we're still at full strength on Blue Monday. So I'm joined by David Diamond and Joe Fairs. How are you both?
All right, mate. Yeah, good. Thanks. Pretty good.
Yep, good. Enjoying
I don't think I've got a bit of a dodgy knee still, so I don't think I'd make the bench, unfortunately. But other than that, I'm all right.
But on your day, though, Dave, dangerous.
Yeah, it's two-footed. Anyway. So yeah.
Right. So we'll begin with the news, and this is quite exciting stuff. Because today was the second round draw of the Carabao Cup, which is unfamiliar territory for us, really. And we've drawn Premier League outfit Fulham, and the match will take place next week, Tuesday or Wednesday night at Portman Road. Joe, a decent test for Ipswich, this one, early on.
Yeah, I assume the Premier League season starts the same week as ours, so it will be an early game for them. No doubt 11 changes in for them, being a Premier League side. So definitely a test for us, but nice to actually see it. But it's just, I suppose it depends how we treat the game as well, because I know obviously yesterday it was as close to full strength side out of what's available, but I'd imagine that might change in the future rounds.
And going back a few days to Thursday, Town revealed that they're looking to hold a test event at either the League One match against Rochdale on the 26th or the EFL Trophy game against Gillingham on Tuesday the 6th. Dave, you've been going to Portman Road for many a year.
Yeah.
How interested are you in going to these test events and games with restrictions and things like that? How do you feel about it?
I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, I think I'd just like to perhaps just go down and sample it just to see what it's like. Basically, it's going to be so far out of the norm, isn't it? So just I think from that, almost from a curiosity point of view. But no, if it's going to be, long term, then yeah, I just don't know. But I think, yeah, and probably Joe's the same. I just like to go and, well, maybe not where Joe sits, but if you know what I mean, I'd just like to go and sample it just to see what the hell it's going to be like, really. Strange.
So I think both for me and Dave being relatively local, it's not, being very local, it's not a big issue, but I wouldn't fancy coming from London, sitting on a train for an hour and a half with a mask on, getting off, having someone point a temperature gun at my head and then tell me I've got to go home. And but you can't. That could happen, and there's people that make a lot of our listeners make big 100-mile plus round trips every game, and like I say, I just can't see the enjoyment of heading there at the moment.
No,
but
especially there's a way of watching it at the moment. I know there was always a way around it, but it hasn't really been readily available watching the Saturday 3:00 games, has it? So
no. Like I said, I might perhaps go to one, maybe what I perceive would be perhaps one of the quieter games, maybe the EFL Trophy or something like that. But it's going to be very, very strange. Very strange.
Okay, on Friday, the man with media fatigue managed to energise himself. That's Paul Lambert, of course. He spoke to the media and made a few interesting statements, as he always seems to do. Probably the standout from Lambert was him revealing that if you're in the shirt and you play well, it's yours to lose. What did he make of these comments, Joe? And is he, in a way, creating a rod for his own back by revealing his hand to the fans like this?
It's difficult because we've all been massively frustrated with his change the style of play, change the teams, the over-rotation. And he also said about Marcus Evans having spoken to the players. And I think there's a message from Evans that rotation is out the window. We're not doing it this year. Players need to play, and we want to get a style of play in. It's not good that the owners had to reel the manager in and tell him this, but it's what we all want. So hopefully he can get it to work, and we'll do that. But it's a strange one because we heard all last season there could be 60 games, the players need to rotate, and we've got to keep them all fit. You've got to be fair. When now we've got exactly the same amount of games in a much shorter period of time. I think we've lost about 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And now we're saying, oh, no, you don't need to rotate anymore. All that stuff we said last year is no longer true. But like I say, as fans, I think, like I say, you can't have it both ways. You say what you want the manager to do when he comes out and says it. You just got to trust that he believes that it's the right thing to do and that he will actually do it.
And Dave, he also alluded to the fact that he isn't feeling any pressure. He, where the Paul Lambert bingo card's out, he mentioned that he'd played at Dortmund once again. So he says he isn't feeling any pressure, or moreover asked, do I look like I'm under pressure? Dave, in your opinion, should he be feeling like he's under pressure?
Yeah, I think he should. I think time will obviously tell. I mean, looking at our fixtures, I think, looking at the first month, certainly of league fixtures, they've fallen pretty kindly for us. So I think, the real pressure could well kick in perhaps 2 or 3 weeks' time if we don't get off to a good start, which on paper we really should. So if he's not feeling it now, I think he'll certainly be feeling it. But hey, look, a good start, and pressure does eat slightly. I mean, even after the result yesterday, you will fans are fickle. You start to see the comments on social media after the results yesterday, and suddenly it's sort of completely almost a 180 from the 1-0 disappointing 1-0 defeat at Cambridge last weekend to the, spoiler alert, quite comfortable victory yesterday. So yeah, of course there's pressure. I mean, he's just talking it down, isn't he? But let's see after the first few games.
Yeah, he just seems extra prickly at the moment, doesn't he? So someone else who might be feeling a little bit under pressure, Joe, is Flynn Downs, who it appears requested not to play against Bristol Rovers on Saturday. Where do you stand on this? I think I can speak for all of us when I say that if the right offer comes in, we'll be really happy for Flynn Downs getting that move, and we really understand why he wants to leave Ipswich ahead of this salary cap, and why he wants to go and better himself and play at a bigger club, and also, for goodness sake, earn loads and loads of money.
Yeah, there is.
Joe, where do you stand on the not playing though?
I think it's a difficult one because we don't know the full extent of the conversations which have gone on behind the scenes. We don't know exactly why he's come to this decision. Has he been pressured into it? Has he been told if he wants to leave, he needs to put a formal request in? How it's got to this position. So I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. Yesterday was in effect a glorified pre-season friendly, wasn't it? Like the amount of players that didn't play yesterday who had knocks, where if it was a league game, how many of those would have actually started? I'd guess would have at least tried to put a striker ahead of Dryden if that was a league game yesterday. Would have at least tried to start Hawkins and maybe sort of have him and Norwood manage the game. So personally, I'll sort of make my opinion more strongly after next Sunday's game, after the Wigan game, and where he is on that, because it seems as though, like Phil's reported at TWTD, that the bids from Palace are 1.2 and 1.6 million. Well,
they're way off, aren't they?
To me, it seems as though we value Downs as one of our crown jewels, one of the best young players outside the top tier, not just the top 2 tiers, and they see him as a potential punt that they can sign for a cheap deal, send him on loan to the Championship, see if he's worth giving a go in the Premiership, and if not, selling him on. So it seems like the way they're bidding for him, it seems as though they don't see him as part of any long-term project. They see him as a project themselves, which may or may not work. So maybe that explains why there's such a big disparity in the valuation.
And as a Premier team, they can afford that punt, can't they? They can afford a punt on a player like that. Joe, what do you think it will take? How much do you think it will take? Say Palace suddenly came in at 2.5. I mean, it's a bit of a jump. They probably wouldn't, but say someone comes in at 2.5.
Well, the figure that was bandied about
was 4, wasn't it?
Was 8, I think, originally.
8?
Is that what we wanted? But realistically, 4 plus add-ons is going to be enough. And if 4 plus add-ons is enough, 3.5 plus add-ons might be enough. So yeah. I think once that figure gets over 3 million, I think it's going to be very difficult to turn down. But at 1.6, when you can't go and spend that money, it's not even worth almost responding to it, is it?
Absolutely. And Dave, do you think that this might get held against Downs? Do you think it will damage his image at the club?
I think Joe's just covered that, really. I hope not. I mean, I think again, Joe's right. Different if it was a league game. So different if it's like prior to next weekend. But no, I mean, it was a glorified, all intents and purposes, a glorified friendly. Okay, competitive, but glorified friendly yesterday. So no, I would hope not. I think people can see that. Yeah, the important thing with the salary cap coming, the kid just wants to. He's not 17. He's 20. Was he 21, 22? The kid wants to better himself, and fair play if he's going to the Prem.
Yeah. 100%. And the rest of the news brings us into Saturday's game, because that was, of course, the long injury list. So I'll just name a few players here, and if I forget anyone, do shout out. So Vincent Young, Donatien, Wilson, Kenlock, Skews, although we think that was a last-minute thing, Jackson and Norwood were all missing, Joe. But Lambert did at least name the strongest lineup that he could, didn't he?
Yeah, it was it looks a little bit of a makeshift lineup, but probably just for two factors, one of which is Luke Chambers at right back and the other was Aaron Drynan up front. But when you look at the rest of the positions, you've got Enciala, Wolfenden at the centre backs, Stephen Ward at left back. Well, between the four defenders that started yesterday, you'd expect three of those to start on the first day, with Vincent Young. The midfield was Andre Dazelle sitting with Teddy Bishop and John Nolan in front of him. Again, they're all first team players. And then up front was Aaron Drynan, which was a player you wouldn't expect to see, but has had a decent enough pre-season and has earned that opportunity. And then Freddie Sears on one side and Alan Judge on the other. So it was a strong side, and I think it was about as strong as we could do with the restrictions and the lack of risk we wanted to take on certain players.
Yeah, and it probably says quite a bit about the size of our squad that we can be missing that many first team players, but still put out a pretty recognisable first 11. And Dave, just before we go into the action, seeing Luke Chambers at right back, Teddy Bishop in the middle, and Freddie Sears up front.
That's a throwback.
Is it memories of 2015 for you?
Yeah, it was a right throwback. Yeah, it really was. Yeah, never thought I'd ever see that again.
No.
Yeah.
And it could have been Cole Skews in the middle as well.
Yeah,
it's just almost unheard of, isn't it?
I know. Bizarre. Yeah.
I won't go through the Bristol Rovers team, but they played three at the back and 3-4-2-1, and I read that they didn't have a recognised striker.
I think you should at least name the goalkeeper.
Go on, Dave. I haven't got it written down, so.
Joe, is it like Van
Striefen?
Van Schepperhoff, wasn't it?
The Dutchman, as he was known as.
The Dutchman. The Dutchman in goal. Ex-Ipswich Academy player Ed Upson was in the squad, but didn't start. And for once, Joe, it sounded like a decent start to the game and a really good first half an hour.
Yeah, we really, like I say, none of us saw the Cambridge game last week, but it sounded as though we'd sort of reverted to type. We had a big man up top and we were going long sort of there. And while that was the BBC Radio Cambridge commentary, it did seem to be backed up by what the journos that went, Andy Warren, Stuart Watson, what those guys were saying too. So, but we were playing football out from the back, but we were also mixing it up and going more direct when we needed to. Not sort of just hope for long balls, but looking for long passes. And then when we were getting the ball in the sort of final third or the opposition half, we were playing football there. So it really did look like the players were making good decisions on when to play, when not to play. We kept the ball, and it really looked like a team, like a championship team playing against League Two opposition, where we were just moving them round, sort of knocking them off their spots, keeping it fresh, just creating space at will almost. And the fullbacks were like Luke Chambers and Stephen Ward, sort of both older players, but were sort of really high starting positions, playing up the pitch, and we just looked really, really comfortable. And like I say, the players looked like they knew the system well. There was a lot of interchanging of positions, people dropping in and out. When one player went, their position was covered up. It was good to watch, and sort of it just worked well from there. Dazelle was getting on the ball and ticking things over, and I say it's exactly what we've wanted to see.
Absolutely. And 29 minutes in, Dave, we get a reward for the strong start.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good pass from Enciala in the right back position, for goodness sake. I mean, it's a great ball, really good run, sort of by Drynan off the defender's shoulder. Whether he's sort of starting position, sort of bends his run, stays onside. And it's just a good pass, a good pace on the initial Enciala pass, and he just doesn't really break stride. Really, just takes it in his stride, looks up, which is great awareness, and just that corridor of uncertainty, rolls it across the 6-yard box, and pretty much simple tap in for Sears. Really good goal. Very Very good goal, actually. Yeah, simple but direct and incisive, I'd say. Very good goal.
Incisive, very nice.
Incisive.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we lacked a lot of last year, where it was just we kept the ball, but almost for keeping the ball's sake, rather than no one other than Wolfie, it seemed, was willing to sort of actually, I'm going to try and pass the ball through the lines and cut out 5 players with one pass, which Toto did there.
Yeah.
Toto just seems, I'm not going to get carried away, but he just seems so much more confident and assured on the ball at the moment. Obviously, it is pre-season, so we'll see how he is against strong opposition in the league. But I don't really remember seeing him playing out previously.
Not really. To me, on the ball, he was always okay. It was just his rashness in a challenge,
and he switches off.
He switches off.
Bramble was guilty of that on occasions. I mean, great player that he was, colossal player, but Bramble could switch.
But when Bramble made a mistake, it was really bad, wouldn't it? And that's what people, a lot of people remember him for that. But he was actually a really classy centre back.
Oh, fantastic player, and he that carried on right throughout his career. I can recall real big howlers at Newcastle, for instance, and probably at Sunderland as well. And maybe they've worked on Enciala during the little pre-season. They've had their work with him on that, and it's just I think a concentration thing, really,
and confidence as well, because he did totally bereft of confidence last season.
Shot, wasn't he?
Yeah. Speaking of confidence, Joe, a lot of people on social media the last couple of weeks have been heavily critical of our captain, Luke Chambers. It didn't seem like it affected him much. He was obviously playing in a different position, and it was him that popped up with goal number 2, wasn't it?
Yep, and it was one of those ones because on the camera, the iFollow camera, which all of us would have watched, the run was so clear because it was almost dead in line, and you just saw Chambers go, and no one goes with him, and brilliant header, good corner from Judge. You must see the run, brilliant header, and it was just so easy. And then you look back, and Toto has performed a sort of NFL blocking scheme on the opposite number to release his running back for a clear run. But it was a good bit of defending there. But yeah, Chambers was impressive at right back, and then, but like I say, we should expect that. He's a guy that's played 150 games in the Championship, or more than that, probably 200 games in the Championship at right back. So he should be able to cope against a League One team. But I think sometimes the amount of criticism has been so heavy against him from sort of certain areas of the fan base that you sort of forget he was a stalwart Championship right back, and he's a good player.
Yeah, there was a ridiculous pass by Dazelle in the lead up to that goal, wasn't it? Just sort of first time, one of his classic first time round the corner for Ward, I think. Quite a good save from the keeper, who sort of parried it out, and it was deflected over. But ridiculous pass. But yeah, good header, and good. He gave the old, I don't know who to, but he gave the old cup deer salute, didn't he? Of course.
I think he showed it again, and it was his fingers in his ear.
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
And I think he then put that on Instagram later, saying sort of less noise, more love, or something along those lines.
So he has noticed it then, the bad feelings towards him. And I mean, what does that say about his mental strength that he's bounced back from a lot of that criticism? Bounced back with a really good, strong performance.
Joe said he's experienced, is he? He's experienced enough. Christ, how many league games has a man played? 500 plus.
700, I think it is.
700. Well, there you go. Ridiculous. So he's experienced enough, and he's probably experienced some of that in his younger days at Forest, and rightly or wrongly, almost right the way through his time at Portman Road. So yeah, fair. More power to him.
Yeah, my personal opinion on it is that everybody's perfectly within their rights to say that Chambers isn't good enough anymore, and possibly shouldn't be first choice centre backs. But I think he's earned the right not to get abused off the fans. Well, I know a lot of it is just on social media, and he might not see it, but surely he's earned the right. The years that he's been playing for us, and all of the off-field stuff he's done, and the fantastic leadership skills. Surely he deserves not to be hung out to dry.
I think Joe nailed it last week when he said, someone's got to come and take the shirt off him. I know at the moment, okay, we've said Enciala is, we all agree Wolfenden's going to play in that formation, but someone's got to come and take that shirt off him, be it centre half or at the moment. Be it,
what shirt is it, Dave? Is it the number 2 shirt, or is it the?
Well, it's not. It's not, because come on, when Vincent Young's fit, goodness me, he's got to. He's a standout player in the whole squad, for Christ's sake, so he's got to play. But
well, I'd say Toto is. I think Toto's 28, Chambers is 35 in a few weeks. He's 7 years younger than him. It's in ITFC fans' interests that Nsiala does get the shirt off him.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Chambers isn't going to give that up easily, and Toto's going to really have to work his nuts off every week, every day in training, every game to keep him out of the team. If he does indeed get him out of the team in the first place.
And if he does, I think you're right, Joe. If he does, then I think even Chambers, being at the age and how experienced he is, and wants the club to do well, I think even he wouldn't have an issue with that. I don't think.
Let's move into the second half then, Dave, and sounded more of the same, pretty positive stuff. And Drynan was again involved as we put the game to bed.
Yeah, this was an assist. Was Chambers. Well, it was pretty much a carbon copy goal of the first one, almost of goal. Yeah, the first goal, which is Chambers from that right back position, sort of, a first time ball. Yeah, perhaps a bit more narrow, a bit more inside than the ball from Nsiala. And was it Drynan or was it Bishop?
It was Bishop.
Bishop, I think. Yeah, Bishop. Again, a very similar assist to Drynan, as you'd expect from Bishop, just gets his head up. And this is quite a clever finish from Sears, because it's quite an acute angle. So Sears, isn't as quite point blank as he was for the first goal. So it's quite a clever finish. He sort of almost lets the ball run across him on his left foot, and neat finish inside the keeper, sort of near post or underneath the keeper. Yeah, very, again, more incisive stuff, straight ball in, nice run by Bishop, quality ball, and good finish, really.
Joe, I wrongly mentioned that Drynan was involved in that goal, but can you sum up his full debut for Ipswich? It seems crazy. He's been at the club for so long, something like 3 or 4 years, isn't it? And finally got his chance in a competitive game, and he did well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did really well. Like I say, he's been out on loan at Sutton, over in Sweden, Scotland, back in the National League again, but he was, like I say, in this role, this 4-3-3, where the strikers playing up front on their own, that is a very difficult role for strikers to play on their own. And he just made it look pretty easy, to be honest, like pretty comfortable with it. He got involved when he needed to. He came up, he held the ball up, he played with his back to goal. He brought others in when he needed to. He got round the back. And I think he's should be really proud of the debut he's made at this level. And I'd say he's given the manager some questions to answer, because we've got question marks over James Norwood, it seems, this season, over his levels of fitness, because he as I say, he had an operation last year and doesn't seem to be able to get back fit. I personally think Caden Jackson's going to leave this window, because I just don't see that we can give him a contract that he's going to want, and I think he'll end up going. And I don't think that he's really suited to the sort of formation we're going to play anyway, unless he's going to play as a wide forward. And I say, if you've got Hawkins and Norwood going into it as your two main men for that central role, and Drynan stays in there, he'll get games. And like I say, he's really given the manager he gave the manager some questions to answer in pre-season, and he's carried that into the first game of the season. So yeah, really impressive.
Yeah, he's physical. I mean, you need that in that role. He's physical, but he's quite mobile as well. And as you said, half decent touch. So yeah, he could be. Stats said it right the way through, didn't he? From day one.
Yeah, Drynan on.
Nothing to do with his nationality, of course. I think that. As Joe's right. I think he's certainly given the manager a problem, perhaps. Yeah, a nice problem.
Another young Irishman who made his debut and will be hoping to give Lambert some problems as well is young Corey Ndaba, who's also been at the club for a long time and has also finally made his debut. I think, Joe, last week you said that you'd like to see him go out on loan. Do you still feel the same way with all the injuries that are mounting up?
I think so. With we do still have 4 senior centre halves really, in Wolverhampton, Nsiala, Chambers, and Wilson. It makes you think that he's just going to get very few games if he stays, and especially Ollie Hawkins can cover at centre backs by all accounts. Janoy Danashi can play there if need be. I'd rather see one of those be the 5th choice centre half, and Ndaba go and start somewhere week in, week out, and get 30, 40 senior games under his belt this year. I think that'd be in the best interest of everyone.
Did he go anywhere last year, Joe?
He went up to Hemel Hempstead and played 45 minutes, and then didn't again, and then at Chelmsford.
Didn't really happen, did it?
No, it didn't happen from there.
But I'd say at the start of pre-season, we probably were all in agreement that Ndaba was never gonna play for Ipswich Town. now, although I think you make a good point that he probably should be going out on loan. Dave, is there now a hope that he has a chance of going out on loan and actually coming back and
you would think that in a similar vein to Wolfenden, you go out to a I call it still conference, but national league Premier side.
I think you'd have league clubs looking at it.
Or a league two side like Wolfenden did at Swindon, and can only be good for the boy. Just toughen them up.
But if you're a teenager and you can go and play in the football league as a centre half,
then you carry yourself. Yeah.
Then you've got a lot going for you, because not many teenagers can do that. So fingers crossed that he can.
And he's physically pretty strong, isn't he, Joe?
He's well built. He's got all the attributes, but I think the problem is he came across as a midfielder, so he sort of adapted from midfield to centre back. That sometimes he might get a bit tight to defenders. To his opposite man, and he sometimes still has that midfielder's brain in his head, which is understandable. But
the other two lads are over at Dagenham, aren't they? Clements and one of the
Kai Brown, Bailey Clements and Kai Brown have gone to Dagenham.
Yeah.
Okay,
similar sort of move, maybe.
3-0 to the Tractor boys. We're in the second round of the Carabao Cup, and there was some big teams have already been knocked out, and Norwich.
Name on the trophy.
Name on the trophy, yeah. Norwich, of course, knocked out by fellow Championship outfit Luton. Norwich sporting a nice blue kit in tribute to our UEFA Cup win 40 years ago. I don't know if you saw that. It just didn't look right seeing Norwich wearing blue.
Didn't sit well, did it? Didn't sit well. Another eye-catching result for me was thinking of what happened last weekend was Cambridge winning at Birmingham.
Yeah, there was some strange results. Wasn't
some real odd ones.
But yeah, Fulham next up for us. So not much to complain about after this one, but still plenty to discuss as always. Lots of twisted questions. And as it's his birthday, we'll start with Ipswich. Happy birthday, Rich.
Happy birthday, mate.
He asked a very similar question to Chris Nunn, just variations of the same question, really. So Rich asks, and I'll go to you, Dave, to start. If the selection policy is now make the shirt yours, does anyone justify dropping for Wigan? And Chris Nunn asks, does Downs come straight back in, or does the earn your shirt mantra apply with Dazelle, Bishop and Nolan staying in the midfield three?
Yeah, if they're fit, I would expect to see them starting with potentially next weekend Downs on the bench, I would have thought.
So in a way, have the likes of Downs already made the shirt theirs, and even if they do miss the game, the shirt is still theirs when they come back? Is that how it works?
No, I don't think so. I'd start. I don't see have an issue starting next weekend with Dazelle, Bishop, and Nolan again. With Downs, yes, coming back into the squad, but starting on the starting on the bench.
I'd put him straight back in the team personally. I think sort of the two Downs and Vincent Young, they were the two shining lights of last season, and I think for those two, they've got their shirts already personally. But like I say, if they don't come back in, I'm not going to.
So do you think that's how that works then, Joe? It's not necessarily play and keep your place if you play well. I
think it's hard for one game, but
best players.
If, for example, if Downs misses 8 games through injury and someone comes in for 8 games and plays well, then yeah, he's got to try and get his place back. But when it's just one,
do you think he'll come back? He'll be straight back in for Nolan then, Joe?
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, and that's a nice midfield three, isn't it?
We'd love to see it. I mean, it is. Yeah. Although
we might not get too many chances to see it. So.
No, although I think Lambert particularly seems to like Nolan, but yeah, we'll see.
Mullet asks, did the empty stadium remove the pressure on the players today? He said that we haven't looked that contented on the ball and across the front line for a couple of years. Joe?
Possibly. We don't know, do we? These players are all under pressure. These have, like I say, they see the quality in the rest of the squad, so they know they've got to play well to keep their place in the team. So I think it's easy to say that, but I personally wouldn't say that. It's still a professional game. It's still a competitive game, and it might help sometimes to passing it out from the back, but it wasn't. We didn't overplay that so much yesterday, like we had done a couple of times in pre-season.
I think you're right. Where it does, if you are adopting this style of play where you are passing it out from the back, I mean, that is where if you've got a crowd there, close to the touchline and stuff, a couple of passes go astray, and it's not any one individual getting the stick. It's the crowd's general, the general sigh. You can see it around the ground, So
kind of miss that sound in a way, Dave.
Well, you know what I mean. From that point of view,
the Suffolk sigh.
Yeah, the Suffolk sigh. Boy, the Suffolk. Oh, boy. But from that point of view, it must be slightly easier. But yeah, as Joe said, it is a professional game. They're professional players. They just really get on with it.
Cornish Mariner asks, is there any provision in the squad limit to bring in an emergency loan or a free agent? He says that we're rapidly running out of fullbacks. So especially as we didn't mention that Chambers limped off.
Yeah, that was, and I think Lambert said afterwards, not sure whether that was either, did he say hamstring? Well, concern, or cramp, obviously not a concern, but yeah, if that's a hamstring strain, and also at 34, 35, that's not good, is it? So. Yeah, you'd think there perhaps is a gap for a emergency loanee or a free agent out there. I mean, we don't know. I mean, Vincent Young. What are we looking at, Joe? Realistically, next weekend? Do we think?
Well, we don't hear a lot, but it sounds as though it should be next weekend. But the club do keep their cards close to their chest on it.
Yeah.
We've been scorned by Vincent Young already, though, haven't we? With he's back next week, and then he's having more groin surgery with Ipswich's Dr. Nick. Yeah. Andrew at Run Fat Boy Run thinks that Ward and Sears linked up really well down the left-hand side. I can't remember whose turn it is now.
It's me.
I'll go to you, Joe. Do you see Freddie starting ahead of Gwion Edwards? And Andrew also says, I agree with Joe's tweet. I think people have forgotten how good Sears was when Lambert first came in.
Yeah, this was a tweet I put out yesterday after Freddie scored his second goal. Basically, because it seems like a lot of people are writing him off as he's 30, he's done. He didn't do anything last season, and we've got too many players. He's one I'd get rid of. But when Lambert first came in, I haven't got the stats to hand, but he played in that left-hand role off the striker, Jordan Roberts up front, and I think he scored at Reading. He scored 2 at home to Bristol City, and I think he scored about 5 goals in 7 or 8 games. And then we sort of went away from the 4-3-3, and he ended up doing his cruciate at Norwich. But that was in sort of late February. And he got back last year, sort of in December time, really. But really, that's a year injury, and he never really got a chance to get back going again. Sort of scored at Blackpool, I think, and just went a sort of a little bit
overweight, didn't he?
Yeah, just looked like he was carrying a bit. He didn't quite have the pace, but he's come back and he's looked sharp.
Yeah, he's fit.
And like I say, he's a clever player, and I know his 2 goals yesterday looked quite easy finishes, but you see when Toto puts that ball into Drinan, as a left winger, he's effectively on that far touchline. The camera doesn't show it, but he's got to be smart, sharp to get off that touchline, to get all the way across when Drinan goes. If you score easy tap-ins as a striker, that's a sign of good movement, good positioning, being ahead of the game, being ahead of your marker and getting in there. And he did that twice yesterday. He did that against West Ham in pre-season as well. And I think he's a player that if he can stay fit, I'd put him as almost our biggest goal threat.
Oh, he's a 15 goals in Sears, easily, I'd say.
Would you both agree that it would be foolish to play him anywhere else?
I don't think you can play him anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can't play him through the middle in that formation, because you do need to have a physical presence, and his game is getting in behind and making clever runs. It's not coming deep.
Shoulder,
yeah, and he is very disciplined at defending his position. But like I said, the only weakness I'd say in his game is in that 4-3-3. You do want your sort of wide players to be able to carry the ball 50, 60 yards up the pitch to turn defence into attack, which isn't really his game. So, but I think if you want goals from a wide forward, I don't think there's anyone in the squad that's going to score you as many as he will, unless Lancaster hits a hot streak.
Yeah, he's very much right-footed, so he's always going to come in off that left side. He's never going to knock the ball onto his left foot and take a fullback on outside. He's always going to come inside, but he's clever enough to do that, isn't he?
And who asked the question? It was Andrew mentioned the link up with Ward as well.
Yeah.
Does having that solid defensive left back give him a little bit more freedom to play higher up the pitch and maybe do less of the defensive work as well?
Yeah, possibly. And also Ward got past him a number of times. Like Dave mentioned Dazell's pass earlier on to Ward. That's Ward's getting round past Sears, and those two had a good understanding already because they're both good players. They're both clever footballers. Yeah, they're both the wrong side of 30 now, but ultimately, as long as you don't have too many of those over 30s in the team, like if you've got 8 or 9 of them, that is a problem. But when you've got 2 or 3 of them, they give you the experience, they give you the nous, they give you the know-how that helps you win games.
Absolutely. The Ipswich Bean and Harry Butcher have effectively asked us the same thing. New dawn or more false hope? Or in Harry's words, is this the start of a really positive season, or is it just blind optimism?
Oh, you'd like to think so, but let's not get carried away by the game yesterday. I mean, I'm not sure. Although I think, reading between the lines, looking at, I think Bristol Rovers had a half decent side out by what they scored. Obviously, they lost Harris in the week, didn't they? He left in the week. So they were I thought they were a bit light from what I saw. But quite lightweight up front. But it's look, don't get carried away. Let's see what happens against Wigan next week. And again, if Wigan can put out a team at this rate, my God, this could be similar to Bolton last season, couldn't it? The 8 players are leaving there. So yeah, let's hope. Look, if they can continue to play 4-3-3, open, attractive, nice football, then I don't think anyone can complain about that. But has it been a false dawn, or is it full of optimism? A bit early to say.
What I will ask though is how many times did we play that well against League One opposition at home last season?
No, we didn't. No, you can count it on really one hand. Really,
I think if we scored an ehrly goal,
Burton,
we tended to be
maybe.
fine, didn't we? Like Burton, Accrington, Tranmere.
Shrewsbury, we played all right. Didn't we score too early?
The Shrewsbury game, it was quite late.
Oh, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
that's the game I saw Ben at half time, and we're 2-0 up, and he was scratching his head saying, "Yeah, you're right. Actually, Burton was certainly one, but."
So that could be a way of phrasing that question. How satisfied would Benjamin Bloom have been watching that game yesterday?
I think they'd like that.
He'd have liked the patterns of play.
Seen the patterns of play.
Yeah, I think they'd like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But we do. It was a League Cup game. It wasn't a league game, and for whatever reason, the League Cup games don't tend to give you much clue as to what's going to happen for the rest of the season.
We've got them coming up. We've got them coming up quite soon, haven't we? We play them again fairly soon in September, before the end of September, I think.
Okay.
So we'll see.
We've got that card marked now. Mark Beck says, what a difference a week makes, gentlemen. A stress-relieving victory after a very negative pre-season on and off the pitch. A lot of work still to be done, but a positive first baby step. And as for the question, looking at the fixtures, I'll come to you, Joe. Where does Town's first big test arrive?
I don't have them in front of me, but I think we have quite an easy. First 8 or 9 games are quite, and then is it like Charlton?
We've got Charlton home. I saw that question. We've got Charlton home, 10th of October.
I think we've got Charlton, Peterborough, and Sunderland in quite close to each other. That 3 is going to be the big test, isn't it? If we're not flying at that point, then we're in trouble because we have got an easy start. We've got Wigan probably at the best possible time to get them. They're signing 3 new players every day at the moment and just losing players hand over fist. But I think we've got a sort of little run of sort of Charlton, Peterborough, Sunderland, and we either need to be in contention at that point, or we'll probably have a new manager, or we'll sort of see how things sit at that point.
Yeah, Charlton on the 10th of October, I think I'd say was the first proper test.
Oh, actually, I think what it is, we've got Charlton, who are quite a sort of tough game, but that's our only tough game out of the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Doncaster, Lincoln.
Out of the first sort of 10 games, then we go to
Sunderland. They're up to the end of October, really.
Sunderland, Blackpool, Shrewsbury, Hull, Oxford, Plymouth, Portsmouth. That second, the first 10 is quite easy, and then the second 10 is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this one from Dave, from Joe even. So I'll go to Dave for this one. Dave Gore asks, in this system, granted this is only one Carabao Cup game and a couple of pre-season matches, but is Drinan better suited to the centre forward role than Jackson in the 4-3-3?
I think we've answered it, haven't we? I think he probably is. Yeah, he probably is. And I think someone also, maybe I'm preempting a question here. I'm sure I saw another question about bit of a worry that, we've perhaps got a massive too big a squad, and there's no bids coming in for anybody else than Downs. Sorry, I preempted something there.
But let's go into that.
Yeah,
one.
I think if anyone, you'd think out of all those, if anyone is likely to leave, it's likely to be Jackson, because as Joe said, let's face it, he's probably not gonna accept his new contract. So you'd think it would be Jackson. And yeah, Drinan's like we said earlier, has given the manager food for thought, really. Yeah.
Steve Jackson has a similar question. Both Drinan and Hawkins look capable of playing in the centre forward position in 4-3-3. We've answered on Jackson. Where does Norwood fit into the team when fit?
Well, I think he's your main man up front in the middle, isn't he?
Still the main man for both of you.
If he's fit and firing, he is, because he's
got around the shirt now, hasn't he?
It's a question his fitness, though, Joe, isn't it? He just don't know. Yeah. I mean, let's face it. Last season,
and it was his birthday this weekend, so I'm sure he was well fed and well oiled.
I mean, when you think some of the routine, I mean, he scored. Look, how many goals did he finish with last season? 13,
11
double figures.
11. I mean, he missed a lot of chance. I mean, getting in those positions,
he gets
when we're on the great run, that first, 1-8, drew 3 till the Accrington game, he could have easily had another 5 or 6. I mean, clear-cut chances.
Yeah.
So,
but then no one else seems to create those chances. So
no. I agree.
Must be because he either has his movement or he creates them himself. So I think if we want to have a good season, I think Norwood's going to play an important part of it.
I agree. A fit Norwood.
And is Drinan the cup option and the third choice centre forward in that case? You can't see him playing anywhere else?
I wouldn't have thought so. No,
I wouldn't say so.
Useful, but he's given himself game time now, first team game time, and you'd think a useful option off the bench as well.
Okay, and one final question. I'll go to you both. Was there a Chambers fist pump at the end? This is from Jim Robbins. Do they still happen if there are no fans there to see it?
Who's he
pumping? It's like a tree falling in the woods, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, answer then.
I think they might have been retired, the Chambers fist pumps. I've heard on the grapevine.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go. There's a definitive answer there, right there.
Is it because when he doesn't play particularly well, people are criticising him for...
I think
all he does is...
Is it because there
was no won enough games, have we, lately?
It dried up.
Becomes a bit ironic.
Dear. Next up for Ipswich is Arsenal under 21s in the EFL Trophy. We're expecting a young team for that one, Joe. We've got time. You can both talk me through who you'd like to see in this game.
Well, what I'd do is I'd work backwards effectively. I'd pick an 11 that I plan to start the Wigan game with, and then I would mark those as not available for the game to start, and then pick 11 players from there. So I think you could end up with a team. So obviously, we don't know the injury status of everyone, but you could end up with a team with Cornell in goal, Donatian at right back, Wilson, and giving Darber a game at centre back. I don't think Kenlock's fit. Maybe Tommy Smith gets a game at left back. A midfield three of Emir Hughes, Cole Skuse, Idris El Mazouni, Brett McGavin in there. Yeah, Idris El Mazouni. On the flanks, Jack Lancaster, Gwion Edwards, Ollie Hawkins or James Norwood up front, or Aaron Drinan gets another.
It's not bad, is it? It's Dave's purring over there.
Caden Jackson could
it's fairly decent,
play up there.
Christ.
I say we don't know. Like I say, we don't know the exact injury status of players, so it's difficult. But you could get 11 players out there that have probably 8 of them have got at least 50 games at this level under their belt. And
Dave, do you think that Lambert will approach it like that, or are you expecting?
I think Joe's probably right. Yeah, I think probably Joe's probably right there. I mean, and look, it's quite an experienced, useful side, really. Tell me, I didn't notice yesterday. Was Hughes on the bench yesterday?
He was on the bench yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
But like I say, there is just we've got a big squad, and you've got a lot of players. Like I say, your David Cornells, your well, Donatian's actually played a lot of minutes, but your James Wilsons, your Indabas, that haven't got a huge amount of minutes they haven't got 90 minutes under their belt in pre-season. And if tomorrow or Tuesday can be used as a chance to get that, then brilliant. We've got an under 23s game at Lowestoft that night, so I'd imagine it's not going to be a sort of a total youth team or sort of players that just won't even be in the 18, but I think it'll be a further pre-season friendly, and hopefully so, because we'll have a good side out that way.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely, and it should be a good one to watch. Will that be £5? Do you think?
I think it might be 10. I think it might be 10 again. I don't know. I'd be interested to see who's in the Arsenal.
It was slightly cheaper than the league games.
I think the trophy games were, weren't they? Yeah, I believe so.
But Arsenal, one of their under-21 centre-back is Harry Clark, who I don't know if fans can remember back the Barcelona goal that our under-14 scored that went viral on YouTube.
Yeah.
He was the player that had the finishing touch to that goal, and he's now Arsenal under-21 centre-back. So he may be there.
Wow.
We got about £100,000 transfer fee when he left at 15, and his elder brother George was a scholar as well.
And did you ever keep tabs on that Ben Knight?
Yeah, I don't think he's progressed as well as was hoped last year.
Didn't he play in the Asian
EFL
Trophy last year?
Oh, yeah, he played in the Asian Trophy last year, and also in the EFL Trophy he played. But I think the problem is that it's just stacked with competition up there. It's like the quality is just unbelievable. You've got.
You think
everyone's
very similar,
national and
quite a similar player to Foden, really. I guess that's a good comparison, really.
Player, isn't it? And
yeah.
At one point, I'd heard from sort of friends of friends that he was rated as higher than Foden at the age he was at when he went in there, but it does seem like he's regressed a bit in the last year, or not progressed as expected. But you're going to have ups and downs up there. It's
what I remember about him. I saw him a couple of times. He was tiny, so you'd think whether he hasn't grown or filled out quite yet. I just don't know, but he was certainly a bloody talent.
And then sometimes if you do grow, it causes you other problems.
Yeah.
Losing your sort of coordination almost.
Yeah.
That happened to me, and I never got it back.
I've seen your free kick technique, Mikey. I disagree. Totally disagree. The shapes you make, certainly that penalty I saw. Wow. Suarez shape.
Great stuff. So we'll be hosting, not me. It will probably be Benjamin Bloom. Will be hosting a midweek stream on our YouTube channel to talk about that game, either on Tuesday night or Wednesday night. Obviously, we're old hat with this podcasting business, and we're finding our feet with the live YouTube streaming. So any feedback that you have, positive or negative, please do share it, but in a nice way, of course. Any last words from you both before we shoot off?
Can I just have a quick plug? It's my old mate Andy Button, old Ipswich mate of mine. He now lives up in Dundee. Actually, hasn't been that well. Bless him. Hasn't been that well. Bless him. But he's an absolute walking, talking football and speedway encyclopedia. He's unbelievable, and he's been putting out on Facebook recently. Hang on, let me get this right. British and world football picture quizzes, mostly 70s and 80s, so right up my street. But I said I'd just give that a plug for him. So yeah, it's worth looking out for.
Where's that again, Dave?
It's on Facebook. It's called 70s. So it's called British and World. British and World Football Picture Quiz. It's called. It's Andy Button, and it's on. I think it's on. I've seen it on Twitter. It's on. He puts them out on Facebook. Like I said, mostly 70s and 80s stuff, but. I said that I'd give that a plug for him. Yeah, for some pretty obscure stuff, but yeah, some good stuff on there.
Awesome. And Joe, are you watching the youngsters at any point this week?
No, because Tuesday I'll watch the Arsenal game, but they've had a good few games lately. The under 18s beat Tottenham 4-2 Saturday morning, and the under 23s beat Braintree 5-3 on
5-3.
Yep, and
they won at Felixstowe Walton when you were in attendance as well, did they not?
Yeah, 3-0. They beat one at Felixstowe Walton, and that was almost a reserves under 23 side there. So I'll say that they've had a good pre-season between them both. And
Felixstowe first team, pretty much, or
I don't, to be honest.
Okay.
But from what it was, like,
it was a full strength Felixstowe Walton team.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about your mate. You're
right
on cue.
Miles Powell.
Your mate right on cue, and he said, "Yeah, he's just arguing with a ref. Yeah, he's just started a fight."
Brilliant. Okay.
But there's still no fixtures released for the under-18s, under-23s as yet. So hopefully they'll come out soon, and we can actually sort of start pointing people towards their games to hopefully go along and watch some.
Yeah. Okay. And just before we go, flagship show. I'm sure you'll both be there next Monday. I think Rich might be hosting. Next Sunday. It will be out on next Monday. Rich will be hosting. What are you hoping you'll be talking about next Monday? Next Sunday, even.
Another performance like we had yesterday. Another comfortable home win.
Another comfortable victory. Yeah.
Another side that maybe leaves a few more questions and answers with regards to the quality that you're up against. But you can only beat what's in front of you, and we want to have a good win against sort of a club that's in disarray.
And Dave, you want to talk about how good Kane Vincent-Young is?
Well, yeah, we can talk about how good Kane Vincent-Young is. Let's just hope we see him next weekend, for goodness sake. Yeah, and and get a run of games under his belt and put all these sort of injury concerns, obviously, behind him, really.
And talking about Flynn Downs' new contract.
Yeah. Great
with
stuff.
Us, with Ipswich.
And still Lambert out, Joe?
Well, at the moment, I think he's got a hell of a lot to prove, and I would have a very short leash on him this season. I think as soon as it starts to slide this year, we can't take the risk of giving him the chance to turn it back round, because he's shown over the last 2 seasons that he can't.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, we're all in agreement. It's time to go. Good night, and wish for whatever you like.